This is part 2 of the homework video guide for the product rule, and for this video I'll be starting on question number 2 on page 101. And once again, I'm given a table of values and I need to differentiate the following and evaluate the derivative value here. And in this case, for question number 2, I need to find the derivative when x equals to 1 there. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the derivative of this expression right here in yellow. And in order to do that, I need to use the product rule. So let's start off by writing f prime of x equals, and the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared times the second term, which is f of x, so f of x, plus the first term, which is x cubed. And then I need to take the derivative of the second guy, so that the derivative of f of x is going to be f prime of x. Okay, so there's my derivative, and then I need to find the derivative when x equals to 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and write another expression here, so f prime of 1. So the goal is anytime you see an x, that x will be replaced with the value of 1. So all these x's here, these x's will be replaced with the value of 1. So 3 times 1 squared times f of 1 plus 1 cubed times f prime of 1. Okay, and then after that, we want to go to our table and we will figure out what the values are. Let's just calculate the expressions that we do know. So this part right here, 3 times 1 squared is going to be 3. And then let's take a look at f of 1. So where's f of 1? Well, here's f and here's 1. So f of 1 will be 2. So f of 1 is 2. So 3 times 2 plus, and then this part right here, 1 cubed is going to be 1. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And then we have f prime of 1, all right? So here's f prime, and here's 1. So let's erase all this. So here's f prime, here's 1. So f prime of 1 is going to be 4. So it'll be 1 times 4. And if I evaluate this, this will be 6 plus 4, and 6 plus 4 is going to be 10 as a final answer there. Okay, so move on to question number 3 again. Number 3 now. So number 3, same kind of problem, just different function, but same table. So I need to find p prime of 1. So here's my function there. So let's find the derivative by using the product rule. So the derivative of 4x squared is going to be 8x. So 8x times the second term, which is g of x, plus the first term, which is 4x squared. And then I need to multiply by the derivative of the second term. So the derivative of g of x is g prime of x. Okay, and then our goal is to find p prime of 1. So I need to evaluate p prime of 1. All right, so anytime you see an x, that x will now be replaced with the value of 1. So all these x's here will be replaced with the value of 1. So this will be, so 8 times 1 is just 8. So 8 times, and then g of 1 plus 4 times 1 squared times g prime of 1. Okay, so this will be 8 times, then ask yourself, what's g of 1? Well, here's g, here's 1, g of 1 will be negative 1, so 8 times negative 1 plus, and then 4 times 1 squared, that's going to be 4, times g prime of 1. Okay, well, where's g prime of 1? Here's g prime, here's 1, so g prime of 1 is going to be negative 3, so 4 times negative 3. And then after that, let's evaluate this. So 8 times negative 1 is going to be negative 8. And then 4 times negative 3 is going to be negative 12. And 8 minus 12 is going to be negative 20. So negative 20 is your final answer there. Okay, let's move on to question number 4 here. So same thing, I'm given that table of values, and I need to find the derivative of, or the derivative value of h prime of 4. And here's my new function here. Okay, so this one, not too bad. So let's find the derivative of h prime of x. Okay, so very first thing, there's a constant here, right? So let's move the constant to the front, and then let's take the derivative of f of x times g of x. Okay, so big bracket here, and the derivative of f of x is going to be f prime of x times the second term, which is going to be g of x, so times g of x, plus the first term, which is f of x, times the derivative of the second term, which is g prime of x. And then we'll close the bracket off. All right, so that's how you can use the product rule. And I will leave my constant 3 out there in the front. Okay, and now I need to find h prime of 4. So h prime of 4. So once again, anytime you see an x, all the x's will now change to a value of 4. So this will be equal to 3 times f prime of 4 times g of 4 plus f of 4 times g prime of 4. Then after that, we're just going to our table now. So this will be 3 times, okay, now what is f prime of 4? Well, here's f prime, here's 4, so f prime of 4 is going to be negative 2, right? So this will be negative 2 times. All right, now I need to find the value of g of 4. So here's g, here's 4, and g of 4 is going to be 1. So negative 2 times 1. Okay, let's continue on with this particular problem. Then plus f of 4. So if I go back to my table here, I mean, where is f of 4? Here's f, here's 4, f of 4 is going to be 1. So that'll be times 1 times then g prime of 4. So here's g prime, and g prime of 4 is going to be 2, right? So g prime of 4 is going to be 2, so 1 times 2, and then close the bracket. Okay, and then after that, we just evaluate this, and just by looking at this will be negative 2, that'll be positive 2, so this is going to be 3 times 0, and 3 times 0 is going to be 0. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. And for question number 5, I need to find g prime of 4. So before I do this problem here, let's just go ahead and rewrite this original problem. Let's change everything into a power here. So if I have 2 root x, let's write that as 2 times x to the power 1/2 times g of x. And after that, now let's take the derivative. So g prime of x equals 2. Now, since I have a constant 2 here, I'll move that to the front. And then what's my derivative of x to the power 1/2? Well, that's going to be 1/2 x to the power of negative 1/2 times the second term, which is just g of x, plus the first term, which is just x to the power 1/2 times the derivative of the second term, and the derivative of g of x is g prime of x. Okay, and then from there, if you want, you can just simply rewrite all of this in terms of a radical now. So this will be 1 over 2 root x times g of x plus root x times g prime of x. All right, so one thing that does help sometimes is just rewriting the powers back into radical form. And then our next goal is I want to find g prime of 4. Okay, so I need to find g prime of 4 next, right? So g prime of 4. So that means anytime you see an x value, all of these x's will be changed to a value of 4. So this will be 2 times 1 over 2 times root 4 times g of 4 plus root 4 times g prime of 4. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and see if we can evaluate this now. So this is going to be 2 times. All right, so now I have 1 divided by 2 times root 4. So if I think about that very slowly here, 2 times 2 is going to be 4, so that's going to be 1/4 on the bottom. And then ask yourself, what's g of 4? Well, here's g, here's 4. G of 4 is going to be 1, right? So times 1 plus, and then what is root 4? Root 4 is going to be 2 times, and then what's g prime of 4? Here, well, here's g prime, there's 4. G prime of 4 is going to be 2. So 2 times 2. Then after that, it's all about just simplifying this now. So this will be 2 times 1/4 plus 4. And if you go ahead and evaluate that, that's roughly going to be about 8.5. And 8.5, if you round that up, that's going to be sorry, if you change that to a fraction, that'll be 17 over 2. Okay, so I won't spend too much time getting 8.5 there. Please make sure that you can get that value on your own there, but the derivative steps should be correct. Okay, let's move on to the last question here. All right, so same kind of problem, and but let's just figure out what kind of function we're dealing with next. So I have v of x right here, and I need to find v prime of 1, and here's my function right there. Okay, so this derivative, we do need a little bit of space here, so v prime of x equals 2. Now, what's the derivative of x squared? That's going to be 2x times the second term. Now, the second term is all of this. All right, that's the full second term, plus the first term, which is just x squared. And then I need to take the derivative of this expression right here in green. All right, so if I do that, the constant 2 remains on the outside, and what's the derivative of f of x? That's going to be f prime of x minus, now there's a 3 here, so the 3 remains on the outside, and then times by the derivative of g, which is g prime of x. Okay. And after that, let's go ahead and evaluate v of 1. So anytime you see an x, all these x's will now be replaced with the value of 1. So if I do that, this will be v prime of 1. So 2 times 1 is going to be 2. And this will be 2 times f of 1 minus 3 times g of 1 plus, well, 1 squared is going to be 1, so let's put the 1 there. And then this will be 2 times f prime of 1 minus 3 times g prime of 1. All right, and then after that, we need to go to our table here, and then we can evaluate this, all right? So this will be 2, bracket, 2 times. Now what's f of 1? F of 1 here is going to be 2, so 2 times 2 minus 3 times g of 1. Now what's g of 1? So here's g, sorry. Here's g, and here's g of 1, so g of 1 is going to be negative 1, right? So 3 times negative 1. Then I'll close that bracket off, plus 1 times, all right, this will be 2 times. Now what's f prime of 1? Here's f prime, there's 1, f prime of 1 is going to be 4, so 2 times 4 minus 3 times, and then finally the last one is going to be 3 times g prime of 1. So here's g prime, here's 1, g prime of 1 is going to be negative 3. And then we close that bracket off. Okay, so after all that work, we can finally figure out our final answer here. So let's go ahead and do this. So this will be 2 times 2 times 2 is going to be 4. So 4 plus 3.